I was wrong. A shrimp really did fry that rice. I've been wrong about a lot of things on this channel, but one particular mistake I've made over and over again is the conflation of roguelites and roguelikes. I've often explained this away as roguelites being a square in the roguelike rectangle, but that was wrong. And this guy, well, he's kinda handsome. And while now I recognize the error of my ways, I do think that roguelites could learn something from roguelikes. I think that an over-reliance on meta progression has started to detract from the main joy of the rogue genre. So today on Blurbs, let's talk about why roguelites need to focus more on player progression and less on meta progression. Oof, you just lost a lot of progress. A real cringe moment. You're gonna lose a lot of gamer credit from this. This all started when I first beat Getting Over It with Benny Foddy. Getting Over It has been a game that I've owned for a couple of years now, but I finally beat. It took me around 7 hours of total playtime to complete my first run as I slowly made my way up through each obstacle, falling and losing big chunks of progress. After I beat it, I immediately set out on a second run, and to my surprise, it only took me 30 minutes. That was because I learned every bit of movement tech and I conquered areas by brute force. I had acquainted myself with each section and learned the optimal way through. It wasn't the game getting easier, it wasn't me unlocking a better set of tools, it was me learning, perfecting the movement, and becoming comfortable with its systems. In a lot of ways, the thrill of beating Getting Over It reminded me of some of those early roguelite experiences. It reminded me of mastering the synergies of my cards in Slay the Spire, it reminded me of learning the bullet patterns of each boss in Enter the Gungeon, and it reminded me of figuring out what each booby trap did in Spelunky. Booby. Before I continue though, allow me to explain meta progression. No. If you don't already know, meta progression is the system in roguelites that allow for continuous progress between runs. In Balatro, this is you unlocking better jokers to use, making the runs easier. In Hades, it's you giving Zagreus more health or an extra life, and in Dead Cells, it's you unlocking weapons and strengthening your character. An overabundance of meta progression has caused us to look past the joy of just becoming better. No crutches, no aid, just us. Climbing that mountain the second time and ripping through sections that had taken me hours made me feel so good. I had truly learned and overcome a system rather than just getting some help. In a roguelite with a heavy amount of meta progression, a lot of times when you're getting better, it doesn't feel like it's just you because you always have those aids that you're upgrading. The roguelike brutality strips that back in a way that every tiny bit of progress is 100% your own. There is this addicting replayability to non-meta progression dependent roguelites like Enter the Gungeon. Every time you run it, it's mostly just you getting better at avoiding those thousands of bullets on screen, you perfecting your rolls, you fine-tuning your movement. When the game adds less meta progression, you are able to fully master its mechanics. But I need more. Like from life? No, like more roguelites with a lesser dependence on meta progression. Oh! Cool. We need more roguelites that function like roguelikes. And by that I don't mean top-down, grid-based, extremely confusing civilization building games like Caves of Cut or Dwarf Fortress. I mean we need more games that push the player's growth more than they push the game's meta progression. When the roguelite genre started gaining momentum in the 2010s, games like Slay the Spire, Risk of Rain, and Spelunky all had light meta progression systems, but that seems to have gone away in favor of more player-friendly and story-friendly mechanics. I miss the brutality of those early roguelites, and I think a lot of other players do too. This all isn't to say that the modern roguelite isn't great. Games like Hades, Inscription, and Balatro all benefit heavily from their meta progression systems and simply wouldn't work without them. I just see a lot of roguelites leaning away from player progression and into game progression, and I think that there's a place for both. I don't think that every great roguelite needs a heavy reliance on meta progression, and I think there's an immense satisfaction from games that allow players to grow all on their own. Bye-bye now.